Hey guys, it's Laurie of Laurie Sewing, and as you can see I have kind of a plethora of stuff right here. So one of my projects coming up will be the third jumper dress in the jumper challenge. We're not going to start on this one today. I just wanted to remind you, if you wanted to look for this pattern, it is Simplicity S9099. And it is a sleeved, two different sleeve bodice with clearly bias cut bodice and skirt. I am going to make mine all the way down to the floor. It's going to be a floor length dress. This is obviously leftover fabric, and this is fabric that I picked up when Jessica and I went down to Newburgh yesterday to visit with Candice. We popped into Hobby Lobby, and Jessica loves bees, so we had the bee fabric. Of course, I've got this with the sewing notions, and then Candice, who has her own sewing room, sewing machine, and knows how to sew, found a kitty cat fabric that she really liked, and I don't know what she's going to do with her. She might make a headband, I'm not real sure. But it is just a simple fat quarter. And I think we had in my last video, or the video before last, I'll try to either put it in the iCard or down in the description box below. Today, I have a couple of projects that I want to get to. This, of course, is one of them, and I'll be doing this view C. And we're going to talk about who they're going to be for and how the measuring portion was done. We'll talk about that. I've got it on video. I'm going to be using two of these shabby chic from Target, but they were I bought these at Goodwill in Everett, Washington, like I want to say maybe 5 years ago, maybe longer than that. This one has some damage. It looks like a mouse ate on it, but at that time we had a little puppy pug, and he liked to chew. And he liked specifically to chew on pillows and quilts and things like that. So they've been in storage since we moved. They've been washed and cleaned and put away. I'm going to remove this pink fabric here. I'll of course save it for using in mock-ups or lining or whatever I might need. It's like a batiste or a broadcloth, and the top part is what I'll be making the View C Simplicity 1239. I'm going to go ahead, we'll talk about this project later, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you how I plan to remove this. I'll probably use my Kai scissors, and if I can find them, there they are, pinking shears. Okay, so a lot of this will be usable in other projects. Yeah, here's the label. And I think at one time Target was selling these. They may still. I don't know. I haven't really looked at anything in Target in quite some time. So, I'm sure I'll have extra fabric. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this one. durable fabric. This has been quilted in kind of a, it's like a little floral design. I need to clear this of lint. There we go. Sometimes my fabric storage closet gets a little linty, so I end up with bits of lint on my pieces of fabric. But in any case, so here I have the two of those, and I've got some lovely fabrics that I can use for something else. Okay, and I'm going to move this for now. Alright, let's take a look at these. I need the pieces of the pattern to make you see twice. Alright, so for view C, we're going to need piece number 1, which is right here. And I cannot remember if it was, this is a medium piece number 1. I may need a small that may or may not have been cut out. Okay, so this is small right here, and I believe there is a huge jump. Yeah. The thing is, I may actually need to use large and cut down some of the areas. But what I intend to do here is make some measurements off of this pattern piece and then check to see what I have as far as Poppy and Frankie's measurements go. So let's measure the back real quick. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is where they need the back to be. This is, we cut this on the fold and this goes over the dog. So, like this. So we're seeing half of the pattern on C. This is the part right here that is the top part, and their measurement, both of them are 12. So let me get I can't use heat erase ink, it'll just disappear when I iron it. Okay, so on here I'm going to write Frankie and Poppy, and then 12 inches across the back. And then this is the part that goes from the back of their neck around the front and closes like this. And this measurement on Frankie and Poppy is in my phone. I made a video of Candice, their mommy, my daughter, measuring them. So I just held my phone and let Candice do the measurement. Now I need around her neck here to the front, because it closes, the jacket closes like at the widest point where they're like where her harness is coming up. 20 inches. Okay, and then around her little, behind her front legs, yeah. 22 inches. and then from the back of her neck to how far back on her back you want the jacket to go. Okay. She's like, I make you run around. Okay, so this here is 20 inches finished for Poppy, and 22 inches right here is under her front leg, and that's also finished. So I'll be adding more to it unless the large pattern looks like it might fit better. So I think this is the large. And that's one of the better ways to do it, is to get those weird measurements. Because even if this is too long, I can cut this. I can shape the back to fit. But these measurements are a little bit more difficult. So let's take this medium and give it a here it is. Okay, so approximately right where this line for the trim is, and we're going to look at that and see what they're talking about. So in the drawing, it looks wrong. It looks like it's going in front of this dog's leg, but you can clearly see that it's behind the dog's leg on the actual dog. I don't have to worry too much. I mean, I've got a little piece of trim. I either use it or I don't. But that's the measurement that I need, so I'm going to use this line as my measuring line. Okay, so that's 9. Well, I know that's not enough. So let's take, and of course I'm doubling it. So here's that placement line for the trim. All right, it's 10. All right, so this is 20 inches on this one. And that means, because of course I would double that, that means that even the large, and that's the thing about pug bodies, they are so chunky in certain areas. But I can definitely add. So if I add, let's say, I've got to have a seam allowance, but not too much, because this could be finished with trim, some, like a bias trim or something. So if this is 20, so the full around equals 20 inches. So I need 22 for Poppy. Poppy equals 22 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and say add 3, and that gives me 1.5 on each side. 3 inches total, 1.5 each side for Poppy. So that was funny. So, okay, body measurements for large. Neck circumference. The large is 18, which is what I just got. Okay, so I need to add, because hers is 20, so this is 18 inches. What do they call that measurement? Neck circumference. If it's the circumference, yeah, it would have to be what I got, the 9. And I need 20 for Poppy. Is finished. So I'll have to add, I'll say 3 inches to that. Okay. And then the back is going to be yeah, see, this is 20 and she's 12. So I think what I'll do, I'll put a mark right there. Poppy equals 12 inches. And I think what I can do is fold. I'm going to pin this so I don't lose that measurement. All right, so we're going to check on Frankie and see here what hers are. So we've got Frankie's measurements are Poppy doesn't need to be on here because this is too small. So Frankie is 16.5 inches finished. Going that way. I don't need that. Length from harness would be 9.5. Oh, so she's not, yeah. So Frankie is 9.5 across the back. Okay, so I'll have to adjust this one as well. And under her front leg girth is 21 and her tummy girth is 17.5. And that's important. If there's a huge difference, and there kind of is, 21, 17.5, there's a lot of inches in there. I'm going to go with 21. All right, so I'll pin this with this. Those are for those, and these are for these. Okay, so now we need to kind of review our pattern. We're going to take our instructions, read through them, make sure we understand and have everything. And if there's something else I need to make, I'll need to gather my materials for that. All right, so the process here is to read through the instructions on the very first page. There will be the guide drawings, as they are usually called. That's what these are. Let me get you down here where you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so these are the guide drawings. These are the pattern pieces. Right here. And they will always have the number on this drawing that is the same as your actual pattern. So piece 5 is the tab pattern piece, piece 5 right here. And it will say what it is down here and what it's for. So it says number 5 tab C and D right there. So you can figure out if you're doing view C, all you have to do is look at this section of the pattern right here, and it will tell you, okay, you're going to need front and back because C is listed in right there. I don't need the pocket, I don't need the flap, but I do need the collar or not. I'm not putting collars on pugs. There's too much bulk around their neck. And then the tab, which is cute, it goes across the back, so yes, I'm going to use that. There is a bow, and then there's the knot. Those are for the collar that I'm not putting on for the pugs. And I'll show you what I mean. It is kind of hard to see. It's the white, ooh, that little white piece that's going around right there. that would be far too much for a little pug. They have way too much around their neck in the way of extra skin and fur, and they don't need that, so I'm not doing that part. Okay, then let's see. Get back out a little bit. Now we have our cutting layouts, and those are going to be for each one of the views that is available in the pattern. So we're going to look for C. Here it is. It's going to show us how to cut out the coat, and then all the little extra pieces that go with view C, which would be the contrast, coat, the collar, the tab, and the bow. The pieces I don't need, I don't have to worry about. Up here are your general directions for cutting, and here is your key. If you see this black star right here, or you see this, I'm going to call it an asterisk right there, it will tell you you need to look for special cutting instructions or notes. If you happen to see that in here anywhere. The sewing instructions are next, and they are, we have our key up here at the top. The fabric key, the darkest part is the right side of the fabric, the lightest part is the wrong side of the fabric. If it has hashtag looking symbols, that is the interfacing, and little tiny dots is the lining. So what do you do with this information? Well, you read through this before you begin. And I'm not the only one who feels that way, because it says it right there. The reason for reading through this is so that if there's a technique you don't understand, you can kind of practice it or try to get help with it before you're enmeshed in the project. So if making a bias trim is something that you've not done before and you're not at all familiar with it, then you're not in the battle of trying to figure it out after you've cut out all your fabric and you have no idea what you've got to do with it. So it tells you what to do if you are going to be using braid, how to stitch around curves, how to make the corners so that they are mitered, what to do with the ends of your braid, how to do piping, how to apply it, how to taper the ends, and when the piping ends meet for fabric covered cord, purchased or self-made, you need to rip open the stitching of the piping at each end and turn under one of the strips 3/8 of an inch, and then lap them end over end basically, and whip stitch the end of the cord together, and then stitch the strip over the cord and baste the remaining piping in place. If you've never done that before, that could be like totally foreign language. Alright, so then we flip this over and we're going to go to page 2 of 4, which is usually up at the top, just like that. We're not doing coat A, so we don't need to worry about this very first section here. We're doing coat B, C, D, E. We're doing C. So it's going to tell us what we need to do in that first little bit. We should have our main body cut out, and I'm not applying the collar. So right here is the collar, and right here is the applied collar. Not doing it, don't have to worry about it. So I can literally just take this and put it aside, right over here. Now I need to go to page 3 of 4. Alright, and I need to look to see what's coming up next for view C. I'm not doing a pocket, not have to worry about the piping. Now it says continue as follows for views B, C, D, and E. With right sides together, stitch the front and the back sections, leaving an opening on that lower edge, right there, so that you can turn it out. Definitely I'm going to need that if I'm not using a quilted fabric. But I'm using quilted fabric, so I do not have to worry about aligning. This is basically pre-lined fabric, which is wonderful about pre-quilted fabric. If you can buy it at a thrift store, even better. I think it's a little expensive to go purchase it brand new, but for a project of this size, it's not like you're making a quilt. You're making just a small dog coat. Anyway, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you happen to have fabric that you can just quilt to the fabric that you plan to use, even better. Now, of course, I would suggest using something washable. I like the idea of using something washable. And my next big thing that I'm going to say about dog coats is this. If you have, let's say you're planning to use a fabric that crackles or crinkles, it's not soft, leather is fine as long as it kind of breathes and it doesn't make a lot of noise. Tinsels, like an outdoor sunbrella type fabric, those all make noises, and let's just be honest here. Dogs have very sensitive ears, and if this is on them, close to their head, it's going to be crackling and crinkling and making a lot of noise if it is made from one of those types of fabrics. And I don't really think it's a great idea to have that on their body, crackling and crinkling with every step they make. They don't want to wear a coat that's going to be right up next to their little sensitive ears, crackling and crinkling. I'm going to keep saying those two words. It's like putting on a bell collar. Every time they shake their head, those bells ring, and they're so cute, but they're so noisy. And I just know they hurt their ears. So be considerate. If your dog doesn't want to go for a walk and you've been using a coat that crackles and crinkles, that might be why. If you put their coat on them and they just stand there frozen, it's because they don't want it to crackle and crinkle. So these are things that I would consider. Just use a nice soft washable fabric, something that you don't mind if it gets dirty. You can hang it, you go for a walk in the rain, you can hang it up on a hook to dry in your garage or in your carport or whatever mudroom you might have, and then wash it once it's dry, and you're not going to be putting actual mud into your washing machine. It's just a thing that I think we need to be considerate of. And honestly, if they don't want to wear even something soft and cozy like this, I wouldn't force it. I mean, why wreck their one pleasure? I mean, I'm not going to say it's their one pleasure, but the joy of going for a walk doesn't need to be ruined by forcing them to wear a jacket that they don't want to wear. So, and if it's a rescue, that's another thing. Sometimes you might have a dog that's has spent time, bouncing from one place to the other and has an issue with a jacket, and you might not even know why. But let's keep their sensitive ears in mind. Don't use perfumey fabric softener when you wash it. That it would definitely cause some issues with their sensitive nose. I actually just typically use plain water when I wash any of the items that I use for my dog, even his toys. I don't put any soap in them. I just wash them in the washing machine in super hot water, and they come out fine. He's fine. He doesn't mind. They're clean enough for him. I think soap and fabric softener is a bad idea. If you want to use some kind of a cleaning agent, just use a little vinegar in your washing machine with their items. All right, so now on to the fun part. And then we apply this cute little tab. We do stitch buttons on it. I would be really careful. Make sure that they're on really, really tight, or don't apply buttons. Anything that could potentially be a problem. Some people have small children and they don't think about the fact that if their dog is going with them on, say, a journey to the park, these buttons can be hazardous. I recommend just stitching the little tab on there, and the tab itself can be made from a fabric that is decorative, and then you don't really have to worry about the buttons. It's just a thought. And then for the bow, and like I said, I'm not doing the collar and I'm not doing a bow. We're not doing the hood and we're not doing the scarf. And this is the hood and this is the scarf. But this is how we're going to close up the the mid-girth section and around the neck. And I'll show you that. If you have hook and loop tape, you can certainly use it right here and here. And remember, if the loop side is here on the side facing up, then the hook side needs to be on the side facing down so that when it comes together, this will cross over and close onto the top of this. Now here's another idea that I've thought of a couple of times, and I don't really have time for that right now, but I think it would be really cute. If you have time, you could draw their name onto this little tab. So you could, you know, write out Frankie or Poppy and then embroider that, you know, do some hand embroidery and then apply that to their little jacket. That would make their jacket very personalized for them. I think it would be adorable, but I have a big old dress to make for myself as well as a few other projects. So, all right, we are going to start with Poppy. This is Poppy and this is Poppy right here. These are the two pieces that I need. And I'm not going to have to worry about lining Poppy, this one, because this is quilted. So let's see how we do. Okay, I'm back from lunch, and despite it being chilly outside, my husband and I got some pruning done. It's probably a good day for that. So it's a little later than I had expected it to be when I got back to this project, and I'm trying to remember where I was in the process. I'll add just a little bit more, and okay, this will come down and go. So this is probably going to sit back here. I'll go to 14, and Frankie is 16 and a half. So I need to add a bit here. And I've basically had to do that for almost every single dog I have made this jacket for. It's an interesting issue. So I don't have to add inches to this down here. What I'm going to do is, this needs to be a little bit deeper here. So I'm not going to be cutting across this fold. I'm going to let this fold stay right where it is and then have this come to here, and these pieces of fabric, my goodness. Okay. Okay. There is heat erasable. So all you have to do is hit it with your iron or a hair dryer and it will go away. It doesn't completely go away, but it goes away enough that it won't be a problem. Okay, so I need to, I think I'll use this as a template. Yep. Okay. And I think you can tell what I'm doing is tracing with my friction ink. Alrighty. Looks pretty good. I think I'm going to use my Kai scissors because this is pretty thick, and I know that my pinking shears won't cut through all of this. Now the main thing is I do need to pin it because I don't want one of these sides to be different from the other, and I'll be using my trace lines. Alright. Now if we look at the project, it's basically what we have. Now for most dogs, this is a little bit shorter. Pugs have just a lot of extra in here, in this area, that goes around from the back of their neck to the front of their chest. Okay, I want to measure and see. Let's see if I put it this way. I'm going to go ahead and pin. And then this is the part that goes under. I'll have to use clips on this because it's thick. And this is going to be where the hook and loop tape go, right here. So see? This goes where her tail is. This will wrap around. This will hook and loop tape underneath. And this is where her head and neck are. So let's see what we got measurement wise. Okay, I'm right at 22.5. And Frankie is 16.5 inches. Okay, so actually that's not bad to have that extra, because what I can do is put a bigger hook and loop tape. I did have that actually kind of small there. So we'll get that measured and then put the hook and loop tape in the proper place. So the next thing that I need to do is measure this area. And Frankie needed 21. Okay, so at this measurement we're at 25. You do not want this slipping and sliding and moving around underneath your dog. So I will definitely need to make sure that this is tight enough that that's not happening. Now the great thing about using hook and loop tape is you can have one piece on, for example, right here, and then have several pieces down here, and it makes it a little bit, you know, you can move it around. You can make it a multi-size. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is look for some fabric that I can use to create a folded edge. I could use a bias strip. I have some pre-made. I've always liked red and pink. I've generally speaking, I don't mind blue and pink. The nice thing about the blue is I have so much of it that it would work for both of the dog jackets. In my opinion, there's literally nothing wrong with pink and blue. And this is a double wide. Now what I can do is stitch it like so. I have the pins in the fold right here. And once that's stitched down, you can just simply roll this edge over like that, which will be a nice little finish. You could stitch it by hand. It's a lot of hand stitching, or you can just go over it with your sewing machine. I'm going to pin it horizontally like this, and I do need to pin it because I want to make sure I have enough. If I don't have enough, I will have to order some. Alright, so the next step for this particular jacket is to stitch all the way around. And I do have enough fabric to cut a tab. There it is. Okay. Ouch. Okay, I didn't want to roll up a full bobbin of this thread because these are small Gutermann thread spools, and I didn't want to unwind the whole thing onto a bobbin, so I just did a little bit, and I'll pop it in like so, and that pulls up my bobbin thread and gets those feed dogs back where they're supposed to be. That's much better. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a bit of this fabric right here. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, now I'm going to take this little piece of fabric that I attached to it, and I'm going to cut open right here, and here, and here. flat buttons that don't have a shank. I don't pull thread from my needle on my sewing machine. I pull it from the bobbin because I don't want to bend my needle. I'm going to use a double thread and a good strong knot. This is a 2-hole button. I did purchase these on Amazon and it was quite some time ago. I don't know if they're still available, and they look like a wooden button on the back, but they are not. They are not wooden, they're plastic. Alright, so here's the little tab that goes over the back of the jacket. Everywhere I have a finished edge, I'm not going to put the binding. So this little spot right here, this little spot right here, and I think there was across the back right there. In fact, I think I'll start on the back. It's a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. Alright, and we're just going to stitch right along this, where this folded piece of the bias is. I don't want to stitch over any pins. That's not good for your sewing machine. Here. This is the outside, this is the inside. Okay? And we'll just go ahead and give it a go, see what happens. And if you want to, you can pin it, you don't have to. One kind of a neat idea is to use a decorative stitch. It will hide a lot of mistakes, and you can make your decorative stitch a little bit bigger by expanding your stitch length. So let's say I wanted to do this little wobbly flower. I'm going to bring my stitch length way out. See, I'm at 3.5. That's what you will see. And this is the inside. And as you can see, I wasn't straight. It looks a little bit better on this side than it does on this side. But at least I know that this has been caught all along that edge. And it will stay. And it will be nice and functional. And I think it's nice. I think it's a pretty color combination, especially for the little girls. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep stitching. I do need to put my machine back into a straight stitch at 2.5. I probably will just go ahead and do all of the straight stitching, and then I'll go back and do all of the decorative stitching. All right. So here is Poppy's little jacket. And I did talk to Candice today about just sending the appropriate amount of hook and loop tape. So she'll have the opportunity to put this on. Here's where they're, you know, Poppy's little, the back of her head, the back of her neck. This wraps around the front. And then under her belly down here, these will also have the hook and loop tape down here. And then this is where the back is, and her little tail will be right here. So, oh, and she also said that she agreed that if she did the buttonhole opening for the clasp on their harnesses, that would make more sense than me trying to guess where that would be. So I will have these, I believe September 25th is when my husband will be going down, possibly, and he can take these. So Frankie's is pink. She has the pink button, and Poppy's is purple. How cute. So cute. Okay. All right, so those are done, and I want to say, if by any chance there is a view on the Simplicity 1239 that you would like some assistance with, let me know and I will do a mock-up. It's basically the same thing. It's just I don't have a dog that I would use this for, so I don't want to use good fabric, but I will do something out of a piece of fabric that I could use as a mock-up for you, which I think actually could be better because there wouldn't be a print to detract from where I am stitching if you needed to see that. So just let me know if there is a view other than view C that you would like to have me do. Just let me know. So it's Simplicity 1239. Alright guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. I'd love to have you join us. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.